Hey, welcome to Art Takes. And this is John. And
Jawa Halal Nehru. I was just thinking that Arthur Murray and you have never met, have you?
well, hey, I like Arthur's.
Yeah, well, hey. Once again, folks, this week we want to present the Feed My Chicken Award to politicians, especially the higher up the food chain you go. Well, the reason is we're going to have a few moments of intelligence here. Uh-oh. Politics is a shell. Oh, yeah, I know. It's kind of out of character. Politics is a shell game. Do you know what a shell game is? A shell game is where somebody takes the three little cups or the three little walnut shells, and then they hide a bean underneath one, or a pea, or an eyeball. And then when you go, they misdirect you through prestidigitation, which is misdirection, and actually sleight of hand. Then they'll say, oh, guess where the pea is? Well, it doesn't matter because it's not under any of them. Okay? It's not there anymore. That's why I say politics is like a shell game. Because if you imagine that pea to be the truth, it's not there anymore. Okay? Now let's move on. Enough intelligence. Let's go for some more levity.
Well, I'll tell you, I watched John Wick 2 the other week. Yeah, I'm slow, I know. It's been out of movie theaters for ages. But anyway, I was coming into the studio today and I had a little thing that says, no weapons allowed. And I was carrying in a pencil and I was wondering, was I going to get thrown out because John Wick killed 3 people with just a pencil? And so then I started worrying, and then I started realizing, no, John Wick isn't here. I don't have to worry. There's no way in heck I could kill anybody with the pencil. I could kill a fly with the pencil, maybe.
I don't. Number one, you lack the intention and the ability. But then number two, I don't think the fly's got anything to worry about either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're running things, man. You hit that board. Come on.
I'm too slow to get a fly with a pencil. But, if I did catch a fly and I was going to be ornery, I'd paint his body with a little silver nail polish or something, just so he could look like a mini silver surfer just flying around, a mini superhero.
I definitely do not want that window into your dreams, John. Not at all. The one I talked about before. Why Silver Surfer? Why not? I know. Put little flashing lights on him. Call him a UFO.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to put him in a Spider-Man outfit. That would be considered an offense to the fly. I'd be flyist. Not racist, but flyist.
Actually, a Spider-Man outfit would be... No. Come to think, that'd be perfect. Just think of it. You got... The flies and the spiders are like natural enemies, And so if you put a fly in a Spider-Man outfit, it would confuse the hell out of all of them. And then the spiders wouldn't know what to do, and the flies wouldn't know what to do. Think about it. It makes sense.
They'd make a sequel out of it. That's what they'd do. Okay?
You ever hear the saying, there's some little poem that starts out, "Welcome to my parlor," said the spider to the fly.
Yeah. So. Okay, and now I got a Darwin Award, and this one...
Wait a minute, just to for clarity, he didn't get it. He's still around. He's reading one.
Oh, yeah. And this one is very entertaining in a sick kind of way, but it's also...
just right up my alley.
It's also unconfirmed by Darwin. And winter 1995, Michigan. During the ski season of Sugarloaf Resort, a new lift operator was assigned to work the bottom of lift 2. He was greatly impressed by the bowl wheel that turned slowly above his head. The giant spokes of the wheel were impossible to resist. He grabbed a spoke and did a few pull-ups while the wheel turned.
You're kidding.
After entertaining himself in this manner for a while, he decided to try the trick on the outer rim of the wheel. His timing was off. He didn't drop down in time, got between the wheel and the lift cable. He was sliced in twain during his fateful final trip around the bull wheel. Can you imagine? You're going skiing and, people are getting on the ski lift and here's this guy pulling a Darwin Award on you. That would be gross. I mean, I just couldn't handle that. Some guy doing this, I'd be like, ah!
Well, you know what, John? Years ago, during the Hootenanny days, Google it, millennials, there was a group called the Chad Mitchell Trio, and they sang a song called Super Skier. And it was essentially the same thing. He was going much too fast down a slope, really didn't know what he was doing, hit an extremely strong but very thin tree, and the two pieces of them went opposite directions. So...
And if I remember correctly, Sonny Bono from Sonny and Cher, he was skiing and he hit a tree and died. Cher didn't do her responsibility when she sang, I Got You, Babe. She didn't get him. He hit the tree, he died and everything. And it's Cher's fault, right?
Well, no, if you stop and think about the fact that his ashes are in an urn on her mantle, so she still got you, babe. You have to research these things, John. Know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's crazy to think she still got him, I mean, the only thing to do with ashes, is to send them off to one of those places that compress them and turn them into diamonds. So then you can have a diamond from one of your past buddies,
Yes. I don't quite know what to say about that. In the first place, what are you going to do with the diamond afterwards? You're going to be buried with it?
No, you won't be buried. No, you won't be buried with it. You were right. I didn't push it right, and it hesitated before it switched.
I tell you, I'm bringing a ball peen.
You wouldn't be buried with it, but you could take it to the funeral and set it next to your casket and say, who wants this diamond in the rough?
Not bad. Not good, but not bad. Let's go back to a Darwin Award here that you and I were talking.
Oh, okay.
Make up your mind. Are we talking or are you talking?
There. Yeah, there. Now you're talking.
Wait a minute. I'll talk. You move your lips. Years ago when I was trying to learn how to sing in a church chorus, I found out I really can't sing. Teacher used to say, you sing, you solo, you just pretend you're saying the word popcorn. You go popcorn, but and it looks very good, especially if you really, really put that emotion into it. Sorry about that. Now I'm going off on tangent. It must be the chair. Okay, low flying drunks, and John gave this to me because I used to fly. 1996 Canada. Sleeping residents of Chilliwack were awakened early one morning by the sound of a small aircraft flying lower than usual. The engine noise was like a mosquito zooming too close too quick. They're bearing away. What the bleep was going on? During a bout of heavy drinking that lasted into the wee hours of the morning, two future Darwin Award nominees realized that although neither one had a pilot's license nor any flight training, they nevertheless knew all they needed to know to pilot an aircraft. And remember, like they taught us, takeoffs are optional, landings are mandatory. Furthermore, one of the gentlemen worked at the local airport and they had access to the flight line. They drew the obvious conclusion that a drunk would draw, that, hey, we can get in there and do something, and decided to take a plane for a drunken joyride over the city. They invited two females along for the ride. Fortunately, the level-headed ladies declined. Once again, just to prove you, women are smarter than men. From idea to execution, the plan evolved quickly. The airport employee locked gates. Once on the tarmac, the two then managed to break into a small plane, taxi to the runway, and get it off the ground and into the sky. They buzzed around in the dark, skimming above the roofs of houses, and this random aerial activity went on for an extended period of time. Eventually, their bladders began to complain, but they no longer remembered how to find the airport. That's a wonderful thing. You never forget how to urinate. Disoriented, they attempted to land on the grassy medium between east and westbound lanes of the Trans-Canada Highway and almost made it under the electrical wires that crossed the median. Almost. Boy, I'm over-emoting too, aren't I? Where these wires were concerned, fate was unkind. The tail of the aircraft clipped to the wires. Instead of making a soft landing on the grassy verge, the aircraft took a nose-first dive into the ground, killing both occupants. Only then were the Chilliwack residents able to return to their dreams. Well, that's a terrible thing, but you know what? I've been in Canada, and I'm sure even without the airport, those doggone mosquitoes up there made enough noise to keep the residents awake.
Well, really, though, if those guys would have just been wearing adult diapers, they might have been okay when the sun would rise and they could find their way back to the airport, But having never done a landing before, can you imagine trying to land a plane when your bladder's full? I mean, of course they're going to die,
Well, the interesting thing about all this is this. Taking off is not that hard. Flying is, it's difficult, especially if you're flying commercial and you got an airplane full of people. But it really isn't that hard. The hardest thing, other than dealing with weather, is the landing. You can, be at 65, 75% taking off. You can be at 50, 60% flying, especially in the middle of the night with no other aircraft. But coming in, you have to be 100% focused on putting that airplane on the ground without breaking it, or even more importantly, you. So I don't know. I once had to land when the instructor needed the bathroom real bad, but fortunately I was never in that situation. But it to me, it was one of the most exciting things, simply because I don't care what stresses you out, what problems you had. When you're landing, you can think of nothing else.
And when I'm going to driving into the driveway sometimes, and I got to go to the bathroom real bad, that's a real exciting proposition too. It's not quite as dangerous as flying a plane, because I can always change my pants and use and take a shower.
Oh, John.
I'm getting worse, Art.
I'm afraid so. We may have to replace you with that robot after all. The chicken works for chicken feed, but the robot works for plugging them in the wall once in a while.
Well, then I got one for you, a Darwin Award, a screw loose.
Is this a personal story?
A cousin.
Oh.
Oh, now this one's confirmed true by Darwin. 2008, a contract worker was hired to install reinforcement bars on a communication tower near Camp Bullis. He was welding wielding power tools high above the ground. Sorry, guys.
You do read English, right? Not just Canadian?
When two other workers saw him lean back and fall 225 feet to his death. 225 feet. That's long enough to figure out, oh, darn, I ain't coming home for dinner tonight. Turns out the man had loosened the bolts on the bar to which he was attached. Police are calling it a tragic accident. Anytime you're working more than 2 feet off the ground, you really should have the brain going, because you can die from a 6-foot fall. You don't need 225 feet. That just guarantees it.
That's actually kind of overkill.
Yeah.
No, I've heard that thing. Most I ever did from a 6-foot fall would break an ankle. But it's really not the fall that kills you. It's a sudden stop. But I'm bump.
Yeah. It's a sudden stop, and it's a sudden stop of the camera thing that gives you the wow. I can't believe that. So, Art, let me give it back to you, and you give me something new.
Well, I've got there's a couple of these things here that, I look in the paper every Wednesday. This comes out, and I just look at things, and I realize See, originally I wanted to call this show Skewed Views, but too many people wouldn't understand what I was talking about. But this is just, John and I don't look at the world like a lot of people. We look at it from a more realistic and a more like, what the heck perspective. So I read some of these and I think, okay, here's an interesting one. The previous one I was talking about Soylent Green, and like I said, look it up. In Windthorst, Texas. That's what happens when you have people that have a lisp named cities. The antics of a principal biking into the water in a full-body shark suit raised money for a worthy cause. Windthorst high school students Molly Kirk and Cody Schroeder wanted to raise funds for Patty's house and asked Principal Roy Longcrier if he would help by jumping in a stock tank behind campus if they reached their goal. He is now being stalked by Jaws, who thought he was really cute in that suit.
Wowzer, you know. At least he didn't. If he was doing it down in Florida and he jumped into there, somebody would have got him. You know, and his head would be on the mantle somewhere, you know, with this spear gun from him.
Well, don't forget, Jaws was in Massachusetts.
Yeah, Jaws.
Massachusetts.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you know. I'll tell you that. It's just crazy, you know. I hope to make it out of this life without a Darwin Award, you know. And now does the Darwin Award still apply if you've already had children, and you didn't kill them when you went out?
The whole thing is the Darwin Award. You remove yourself from the gene pool, okay? For you, we're just going to give you the Chicken Award. So. Here's another one that kind of tickled me because I used to be a snowmobiler. In Burlington, Vermont, a new study from the University of Vermont says snowmobile riders are taking notice that fewer days are good for riding. They also take notice that as they get older, they don't like the cold as much.
Yeah, I liked the cold a lot when I was younger. I really did. I loved going outside in my snowmobile suit when it was 10 below outside, and I'd just be working out on the heating units on the roof, you know.
Maybe that's why I never liked it. I went out in my birthday suit.
Yeah.
No, it was a three-piece suit. I had a vest and everything.
Oh, well, I was going to say, if you went out in your birthday suit, that would explain why you never had any kids. You froze it right off. Well,
as they said in the animated movie Planet 51, gee, that's a funny place for an antenna.
Yeah. Oh, geez, you know. I guess I got to see Planet 51 again. I saw it years ago, but I can't even remember it. You know, you know, it's like the TV now. They're showing the same movies over and over again. They just remake it with a new movie star.
Yeah, boy, that's. You know, and that's a shame. It's one of the things. I don't really mind getting older because it's really a lot of freaking fun if you do it right. But some of the things, how many times now? At least 3, if not 4 times, they've redone A Star Is Born. The first time, I think it was a silent movie. The second time was with Judy Garland, I believe.
Yeah.
The third time was Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
The fourth time was Lady Gaga. Who's they going to do it with next? Minnie Mouse?
Well, I guess they could do it with Keanu Reeves. He's a star. That'd be interesting, though. He wouldn't die in the end, though. He'd still be around, you know. He'd wind up killing them.
Well, I'm sure it's in his contract he doesn't get killed in the movie.
Yeah, can you imagine in the future, say another 20 or 30 years, and they remake the Matrix, you know? Everybody will be like, wow, that's a great movie. Who'd have thought that, you know?
Well, let's stop and think about it. How many people said, wow, that's a great movie when they remade Blade Runner?
Well, we saw it out of sympathy, or should I say loyalty.
Or stupidity.
You know, and it just wasn't as good as number one. It you know, it was something that, you know, if you took popcorn in there and a big Slurpee you could have had an enjoyable time. But realistically, if I took popcorn and a big Slurpee anywhere, I can have an enjoyable time.
Well said. Now, see that's the kind of thinking. When you go to a movie and the best part of it is the stale popcorn. That's why they flavor it, because it's all stale. And I used to work in a theater. That's one of the little secrets they never tell you. But I just happened to notice, by the way, as we were talking, I was skimming over some of these, and I realized what we need to do is get more of these people. For example, from Vermont to Washington State, there's a whole continent between them, and yet they could very easily, they both have a problem, and they could work together. Now, I mentioned earlier that in Seattle, Washington, they're talking about composting human beings, right? And jokingly said, call it Soylent Green. However, it's not so much of a joke because in Burlington, Vermont, a new study from the University of Vermont, Richmond, Virginia, a series, boy, I'm really screwing up royal here.
Yeah.
In Salt Lake City, Utah, they're not a continent apart. This isn't even funny anymore. A state analysis shows lawmakers' plans to reduce the number of people covered by a voter-passed Medicaid expansion could cost nearly $72 million before expected savings begin. However, if they took a lot of the people that are eligible for that and sent them over to Seattle, Washington to be composted, it's a win-win.
So that's what you were getting at.
Eventually, just not very well.
Yeah. They're really it's only a matter of a couple decades before they do Soylent Green. The other thing about the politicians that was really fun is AOC, Now, that sounds like some kind of a voltage or something. You got AC, you got DC, and you got AOC. But that's really Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's come out and said, due to global warming, you shouldn't have kids anymore.
See, you're talking about AC and DC, and all I can think of is AC I understand, PC I understand, DC I understand, but to me, out of the three, the PC makes the smallest amount of sense of any of them.
I'll bet you she doesn't. She has kids, though. I'll bet you it's just for one rule for the people and another rule for the ruling party.
Do what I say, not what I do. That's another point I wanted to make somewhere down the line. Right now is as good a time as any.
And
Abraham Lincoln said you can fool all of the people some of the time, some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Now, if you want to not be fooled, we went through the little shell game example earlier. Think about the fact that a lot of people talk. A lot of people run their mouth. Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do.
Yeah, watch what I do. And I don't have any hidden motives because I can't think and do something different at the same time.
In your case, John, we had to jumpstart your pacemaker just to get you in here on time.
Yeah, that's true. But as long as I'm not passed, I'm still doing okay. But you were saying you do what you do and all that. Well, what I'd like is a do-whack-a-do-whack-a-do. But that, I'd like the politicians to at least sing to us while they're messing us up.
I got a bad feeling a lot of them sing so badly that they wouldn't get reelected. That's the thing. Yeah, that's what we got to do. They can't sing, so they talk. If we made them sing to get elected, maybe we get a better bunch of morons.
Yeah.
No, and apologies to the morons.
Well, and at least when they were giving us something we didn't want to hear, they could just start singing, There's a lot of great songs they could sing, But I wouldn't do that for Meatloaf, I'd do anything for love, but I wouldn't do that,
Didn't really like the way you looked at me when you said I'd do anything for love. kind of makes me wonder, and I want to make sure that I walk out the door behind you today.
Yeah, well, all you got to do is put the chicken in front. I'll follow him anywhere.
Well, you know what they say, the boy and his toys.
Yeah, boys get older and they get different toys. Most of the boys I know, they got their pickup trucks,
You know I drive a pickup truck.
Oh,
That's why I put all my toys in the back.
oh, don't take it personal now.
Oh no, I got to take it personally like everybody does. That's another thing. Wow, I'm going to start ranting again, off of my chest and out of my friggin' mind. You know, you're not always the victim. Sometimes you just made a mistake. Shut the hell up and take responsibility.
Yeah, part of being a victim is kind of, being a victim is no fun unless you make it fun, like Jesse Smollett. He was all ready to make it all kinds of fun, and then they found out that he wasn't a true victim. He just had this need to feel bad, and that's why he didn't. He didn't need nothing by Isaiah.
I'm gonna have to edit that out, aren't I? But no, I agree. But to me, I just can't believe somebody like Smollett would do all this knowing how easy it is to get caught. The people I wonder about is the ones like, I can't think of who it was right now. But again, there have been people in positions of power that wanted more and just did some of the lamest, and again, I got to say, the thoughtless, least amount of forethought things you could possibly imagine. It's like they have a saying in politics: don't open your mouth on a slow news day.
Yeah, well, that doesn't work for me. I'm supposed to open my mouth and supposed to say all kinds of crazy stuff. And the reason this show is remote instead of live is because if it was live, you could throw things at me from the audience, and I bruise easy,
You referring to the tomatoes again? The reason this show is taped is because they just move us from one padded room to another every week. That's why.
Well, yeah. Padded rooms are kind of nice, bud. Because then if you're really having a bad case of vertigo, you can sleep on the wall and you won't get sore.
You're only saying that because I suffer from vertigo. So anyway, from padded rooms to tainted mushrooms, I think that's about it, isn't it, John?
Yeah.
Hit the magic button.
Okay, I hit the button of doom.
Yeah, there he goes. Oh, I gave myself top billing this one. Cool.
That's great. Then they can blame you.